he touches my family, I'll kill you.
In the film's opening scene, the narrator introduces the compelling idea that a mother's instinct to protect her children can turn her into a fierce defender, willing to do anything for their safety. She can embody both grace and ferocity, and if her family is threatened, her potential for action is limitless. The narrative unfolds with a woman named Rose, who, undeterred by the rain, approaches her home. She secures the door of the adjacent building with multiple locks, hinting at the secrecy of her actions. Inside, her daughter Maisie is busy decorating a cake, clearly for someone special, her father, who is confined to a wheelchair and unable to communicate or move, relying on Rose for daily medication. As Maisie blows out the candle, a joyful atmosphere fills the room. She presents her father with gifts and eagerly poses for a photo with him. Amid the celebration, Maisie carefully administers his medication and shares a slice of cake, highlighting their close relationship. Suddenly, a frantic stranger knocks on their door, begging for help after an accident in the woods has left his brother gravely injured.
And there was an accident, and my brother is bleeding really badly.
We have to help them, Mum.
Moved yet hesitant, Rose opens the door to assist them. After assessing the man's injuries, she urges his brother to take him to the hospital, but the brother, fearing the storm, insists on staying. While the rain pours heavily outside, Rose begins to treat the injured man, stitching his wounds at the dining table. In the midst of their discussion, the brother introduces himself as Maddie, and both Rose and Maisie share their names in return. As Rose tends to Maddie's wounds, she comforts him by assuring him that his brother will be fine. Maddie then heads to the bathroom to clean the blood off and discreetly hides his knife in his sock. "I don't fear the fire because I am the fire," he thinks to himself. When he returns to the dining room, he finds his brother resting on the couch. Grateful for Rose's assistance, he expresses his thanks. Rose, embodying a nurturing spirit, invites Maddie to enjoy the soup prepared by Maisie, leading to a series of inquiries about Maddie's past and journey. They learn he comes from London, and Maddie mentions they are on their way to meet a friend of Jack's who has a boat waiting. However, he hesitates to disclose their destination or true purpose, until Jack, now awake, casually states that they are going fishing. During their chat, Jack insists he needs to contact those waiting for them to let them know they are safe, but Rose informs him that there is no signal in the area, and they lack a phone. She mentions an old phone booth on the route to the village, but she can't take him there until morning due to the storm. Jack then requests to use the restroom, and Maddie sends him off. Inside, Jack is taken aback to find they've mistakenly brought the wrong bag. It soon becomes clear that the brothers were involved in some shady dealings and had made off with a significant amount of money. With the money bag still in their wrecked car, they need to devise a plan to retrieve it. Consequently, Jack asks Rose if he can borrow her car, while Maddie feigns a tantrum. Jack insists that Maddie left his belongings in the car and won't rest until he gets them back. When Rose notices Maddie's incessant yelling, she proposes sending Jack to the wrecked car on one condition: Maddie must stay in a locked room, as the mother is unwilling to leave her daughter alone with an unfamiliar man in the house. Shortly after Jack and Rose depart, Maisie takes the key and engages Maddie in conversation. Having never spoken to anyone other than her mother, she enjoys their chat. After their pleasant exchange, Maisie unlocks the door, and when she leads Maddie outside, he requests to go upstairs. Once upstairs, Maddie discovers a locked room, and Maisie explains that it's her mother's workshop, which is off limits. Meanwhile, Jack and Rose are conversing, and Rose shares the tragic story of her husband's accident and the devastating loss of her son. Upon reaching the accident scene, Jack instructs Rose to wait while he retrieves his money bag. It is at this moment that Rose inadvertently spots a dead man in the wreckage, creating a tense atmosphere as Jack brandishes his gun and compels Rose to accompany him to a phone booth to contact his associate. Rose complies, and once at the booth, Jack cautions her to remain silent about what she has seen, revealing that he has committed unspeakable acts. However, Rose counters that Jack cannot fathom her own suffering. Back at home, Maisie welcomes Maddie into her room, showcasing her treasured items, including a map that allows her to explore the world from the comfort of her home. Their discussion reveals that Jack is on the phone with his boss regarding the money bag. The boss, impatient for the delivery, insists on coming to meet Jack himself to collect it. It becomes clear that the deceased man in the car is the boss's son, but Jack deceives him, claiming his son is safe. Meanwhile, Rose attempts to find a weapon for her defense, but Jack unexpectedly appears from behind, warning her of the brutal consequences if the boss discovers his son is dead. Rose vows to kill him if Maddie threatens her family. Meanwhile, Maddie and Maisie are growing closer when they hear a radio report about 3 men wanted for an armed robbery in East London. Upon hearing his and his brother's names, Maddie tries to turn off the radio and struggles to convince Maisie that it was an accident and not his fault. Despite her fears, Maisie supports Maddie and urges him to retreat to his room before her mother returns. The tension escalates when Rose and Jack come home, and Jack commands Maisie to let Maddie out. The family faces separation and threats at gunpoint, their lives hanging by a thread. Suddenly, Jack spots headlights outside and discovers it's a police officer. He instructs Maddie and Maisie to hide in a locked room and tells Rose to greet the police calmly. A twist occurs when the officer enters the house to check on them and informs Rose about the manhunt. As Rose tries to maintain her composure, the father's suspicious stare catches the officer's attention. The officer also notices a cropped photo of the father and Maisie, and hears Pa's calls for help. As the policeman's suspicion grows, Rose explains that Pa behaves this way when his medication is delayed. Just before leaving, the officer questions why a picture of a missing girl, Maisie, is in her home, mentioning that the girl's family has also vanished. Then, chaos erupts as Jack attacks the policeman from behind, leading to a violent struggle filled with gunfire. Maddie hears the chaos from within, while Maisie takes the chance to hit him with a vase. Eventually, the officer manages to restrain Jack, only to be stunned by Maisie's presence. In a shocking twist, Rose appears and fatally shoots the officer. Maisie is left feeling conflicted and bewildered by the events, as Rose quickly administers medication to Pa after Maisie insists that he just spoke. Subsequently, Rose meticulously cleans up the situation, locking Jack and Maddie in the basement. With Maisie's unintentional help, the family attempts to cover their tracks by bringing the deceased officer to the site of Jack's accident, staging it to appear as if he was killed in a shootout with Jack's gang. Rose reassures Maisie that the police are not to be trusted, emphasizing that no one is truly good, and that she must protect Maisie from them. Meanwhile, Jack struggles against his bindings in the basement. Eventually, Jack and Maddie manage to free themselves and attempt to escape through another door outside the house. But Jack hesitates, wanting to retrieve the bag of money left behind. As they make their escape, a conflict arises. Maddie is eager to leave the dangerous house, while Jack is determined to get the money that clearly holds great importance. This leads to a heated confrontation between the brothers, revealing Maddie's mental health issues that often trigger violent outbursts and hallucinations. Jack reminds Maddie that their mother was lost due to his condition and instructs him to wait for him in the barn. Driven by greed, Jack climbs towards Rose's enigmatic workshop and enters through a window. Inside, he stumbles upon a concealed area and a woman lying there, surrounded by multiple CCTV screens. The shocking revelation comes when he realizes that the woman has been amputated, exposing Rose's true, monstrous nature. He discovers the shocking truth about Rose not being Maisie's biological mother when he comes across numerous newspaper articles detailing the disappearance of Maisie's family. The woman lying there is actually Maisie's real mother and Pa's wife. Maisie, also known as Jenny, has no memories of her true family since she was too young when they vanished. When Jack attempts to save her, the woman instead pleads with him to end her suffering. Her desperate requests for relief weigh heavily on Jack, causing him to hesitate. Meanwhile, Rose is outside the house and senses something is wrong when she notices her sheep running amok. It dawns on her that the two brothers have escaped. Maddie, however, is hiding in the barn and is confronted by Rose, who is holding a gun. Instead of harming him, Rose decides to spare Maddie, saying he reminds her of her deceased son, and promises to take care of him. Maddie, hearing this, accepts Rose as his new mother. Meanwhile, Jack finds another way into the house, retrieves the money, and tries to convince Maisie of the truth about Rose while restraining her from behind. As Rose approaches the house, Jack leads Maisie into a room where he reveals her true identity as Jenny, and explains that Rose is not her real mother. He tells her that her biological mother died in a car accident that involved Rose, who took Maisie and her father as a twisted form of revenge. Jack shows her the photos and necklace he found in Rose's workshop, which trigger Maisie's memories. Amid the turmoil, Jack's boss discovers the wreckage of a car, realizing he is getting closer to Jack. As Jack contemplates an escape plan, he instructs Maisie to guide her father to a truck while he goes to find Maddie. Unfortunately, Maddie is no longer in the barn, raising alarm bells for Jack. Jack refuses to leave without Maddie, so he goes back inside the house and finds her at the top of the stairs. Maddie insists that Jack should go, as she plans to stay with her new mother. In a tense moment, Rose takes a shot at Jack, barely missing his neck. Jack hides in a corner while Rose tells Maddie that Jack doesn't care about him. In a dramatic twist, Jack reveals to Maddie that he has exposed Rose's sinister actions in her workshop to Maisie. Furious, Rose attempts to force Jack to give in, but he retaliates by striking her and grabbing her fallen gun. However, Jack's effort to end Rose's control is interrupted when Maddie pushes him to the ground and starts hitting him. As Maddie helps Rose up, Maisie arrives, ready to assist Jack as they head towards the waiting car. Meanwhile, Jack's boss, who has noticed the car wreck, approaches the scene. Jack and Maisie manage to escape, but Rose chases after them with a gun. They find shelter in the barn, where Rose desperately tries to convince Maisie that she is the one who raised her and truly cares for her. Suddenly, a car pulls up at the compound, identified by Maddie as Max. Jack gives Maisie the car key, telling her to drive away with her father while he goes to meet Mac in the opposite direction. As tensions rise, Mac confronts Jack, demanding money and information about his missing son. Upon learning of his son's death, Mac drags Jack out of hiding, accuses Rose of needing the money, and threatens to kill both brothers for their role in his son's demise. Rose tells Mac he can kill Jack if he wishes, but she won't let him harm Maddie. In the heat of the confrontation, Jack stabs Mac in the leg, prompting Rose to shoot Mac in the head, while Maddie fights off Mac's henchman who is trying to kill Rose. The attacker manages to overpower Maddie and Rose, attempting to kill Rose once more. In a courageous act, Maisie strikes the assailant and speeds away with her father, leaving Rose, Jack, and Maddie unconscious behind her. As the film nears its conclusion, Maisie finds comfort wrapped in a blanket, reassured by a police officer that her father will be alright and that they will capture the escaped Rose. Meanwhile, Rose and her son Maddie are seen enjoying a meal in their new hidden home. The mother glances at the CCTV footage, revealing Jack in a disturbingly familiar state, his limbs amputated, echoing the tragic fate of Maisie's biological mother.